Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and sometimes I garden with Chad. Do you know who Chad is? Well, if you followed me for any bit of time, you know that Chad likes to go with me on shopping trips. Chad keeps my wallet busy. Chad makes me buy plants. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now, Chad is compulsive horticultural acquisition disorder, and I'm guessing you didn't figure that out, but it sure is fun. It's just a fun thing to think about. Take Chad shopping with you. I bet you've had Chad along with you before. So today we're going to talk about some plants that I got at Lowe's, that I got at my local nursery van Attas, and some plants that I picked up for Mother's Day gifts for my sister and my mom. So the first plant I want to share with you is this impatiens. This is simply a flat of impatiens that I got at Lowe's, and it's not even quite a full flat, but each one of these was $3.98, and these are a nice shade tolerant plant. They are an annual, but I'm looking forward to using these in my front patio because it really needs some bright color to kind of pop. Usually it's definitely full shade, and so I've got some hostas that are planted out there. I've got a couple of ferns, but I really need something for all the planters, and I think that if I've got enough of these, it'll provide me with a nice cohesive look. I love the colors on these. I've gotten these before, and they've been a really reliable one for me, both in garden beds as well as in planters, as long as they're in partial to full shade. I got 2 flats of these, by the way, so I should have plenty of them to go around. And if not, I'll go back and get more. All right, so now we've got some tulips right here, and I think these are really beautiful. These are the orange tulips that they had, and these were on clearance, you guys. I couldn't believe it. $10.48 was the original markup, but I got these for $7 each, and they came in these cute little tin containers. Can you believe it? I thought, why are they on clearance? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to get them because they're beautiful. They had barely bloomed at the time. I think maybe they thought they were frost damaged because it was right after we got some late frost and freeze temperatures, but they're not. They're in great shape, and I think they look beautiful. So they don't have the particular variety of these on these, but that's okay by me. These will last for several weeks, and we'll get to enjoy them in the garden. So check out your local Lowe's and see if they have something on the clearance rack for you. They might have some really nice looking perennials. Next up, and also from Lowe's on the clearance rack there, I got this ranunculus. Now, I have been growing some of them from the corms this year, which I have really enjoyed, and they've done great. They're not blooming yet, but I don't have this kind, and when I saw this one, I was like, I have to have it. It's $4, and if it blooms for a while, and then I can save the corms for next year, that will be great. So I want to show you a real nice close-up of this. This was called the Sprinkles Mix of Ranunculus, and these are flowers that go in full sun, and from what I've read, most ranunculus bloom for about 3 months or 90 days. I don't know. This one actually just says that it's going to bloom in the spring, but we'll see. And this one is hardy down to about 20 degrees, so it can take a good frost and a little bit of a freeze. Okay, next up, probably the most worse for the wear looking perennial that I got was 2 geums. And these were pretty yellow, but when I found them on the rack, you can see there's plenty of green that is growing from the inside. All of the blooms were basically frosted or frozen off. And I'm going to grab these scissors and I'll show you how quickly you can take a perennial from looking drab to fab. So here we go. I'm just going to take some clips. And no, it won't be blooming by the time that I clip all this dead stuff off, but you'll see what the difference is. And I think that one of the nice things about buying clearance plants is that you can get some varieties that you might not otherwise buy, or you can get plants that you otherwise might not be able to afford, or you can get more so that you can actually fill out a garden bed sooner than you would with you having to wait for being able to divide them or take cuttings of them or transplant. So all of these dead leaves are just going to keep coming off, and you can see already this plant is looking so much better. Just going to get right in there, make sure I get all the dead out. You don't want to clip any of that new growth, but you can see it's so nice and strong that by the time that we start to get some sunshine coming through and we get some nice weather and some rain, and we put this in a nice fresh pot or in the ground, it's going to be so happy and it's just going to thrive. This one is called the Blazing Sunset Chilean Avens, which is the Geum chiloense Blazing Sunset. And this one blooms during spring and summer, so it should start blooming again soon. And it is a perennial. This one was $7.98, but I got it for $4 because it was on the clearance rack. This one's hardy all the way down to zone 3. So super hardy plant, which is something that I could even plant into a pot and maybe winter it over here in my zone 5B. And this gets about 24 inches high by 15 inches wide. So it should be a really nice addition to the garden. And I got 2 of these. Okay, next up are these beautiful osteospermums, and these are like the African daisies, and this is part of the Astica series. Now I think these were marked down because you can see some of the buds kind of were nipped by the frost, but they are a beautiful deep purple. And I also think they were marked down because the tag on these has a picture of a yellow osteospermum on it and not a purple one. So usually when they mistag things, they also will mark them down, so take a look at that on the clearance rack as well. Sometimes you might wonder why they're on there, and sometimes it's because they just can't identify the plant correctly, and so without that they're unable to sell it for full price. So I'm going to clean these up, and these will be a really nice perennial or annual for full sun for me. So this is again an annual. Full sun, it gets to 12 inches high by 12 inches wide, so a nice little clump forming plant, and it blooms all of spring and summer. So we should get plenty of nice blooms out of this, and you'll see I kind of have a theme of pink, purples, and oranges in this. Now these were originally $5.98 and I got them for $4 each, so I think that's a great deal. Okay, next up we have this beautiful Morning Star Deep Rose Sea Thrift, and this is an Armeria, and it is Armeria maritima Morning Star Deep Rose. This one also blooms in both spring and summer. Again, some of the blooms on this were nipped by the frost and the freeze, so not that big of a deal because these are going to continue to bloom for quite some time. You can actually see how many buds there are on this particular plant, and it looks really healthy otherwise. So I think I'm going to really enjoy these. I got 3 of these. I got them for, let's see, they were originally $4.98, which meant that they were $2 a piece, you guys. So I picked up 3 of these, and I thought that was a really great deal because these are also perennials. Sorry if I'm shaking things and brushing things away, but the mosquitoes are kind of vicious this year. I wonder if you guys are experiencing that as well. Normally we don't even get them up here on our deck, but they're everywhere right now. These plants get 4 to 6 inches high and 6 to 12 inches wide. So that doesn't necessarily always incorporate the height of the bloom, because sometimes they do get quite a bit taller, but they are really beautiful. They just kind of have this dainty appearance up above this really lush looking foliage that looks a little bit like grass. Now these are supposed to be hardy all the way down to zone 2, so these do like to have some good drainage though, so they might be difficult to overwinter in a pot, but otherwise a very, very hardy plant. Definitely recommend. One of the other buys that I picked up at Lowe's while I was there is something that I like to get pretty much every year, and that's these Green Mountain Boxwoods. These are really small, but they're the perfect size that you can put into planters or containers or in the ground, and you can start them off as a nice topiary, or you can just grow them into a more natural form boxwood. And these are only $9.98. Now I didn't get these on clearance, that's their typical price, but it's a pretty good price, and I find that the Green Mountain are the ones that really do best for me, and over the winter time they get some of the least damage for me. And again, I'm in a zone 5B, and most of the boxwoods that I see are hardy down to zone 5, so they do pretty well here. They often do get a bit of bronzing on the foliage due to the cold, but that's about it. Now these do get to 4 to 5 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide, so they kind of are called a mountain because they do kind of grow in that shape as well. So if you leave them on their own over time, they will kind of grow into that conical shape. And again, they're hardy down to zone 5, and these are a great evergreen structure to use in your garden. So I love, love, love these. And at $9.98, if you're a beginning gardener or you need to have some evergreen in your landscape, this is a great way to get started. The last plant that I got at Lowe's is this Prince Tut. Yes, it's Prince Tut, and this is a dwarf Egyptian papyrus, and this one was not on clearance. This one's $8.98. I got one of these for my sister last year and she loved it. She put it in her little pond, so this one is going to be for her as well this year on Mother's Day. And she tried to overwinter it in her fountain indoors because she's a science teacher, but I don't think it made it through the winter all that great, so I'm gonna get her this brand new one so she can enjoy it all summer long. Well, that was the last plant that I got from Lowe's. After that, I went to Attas, and that's my local nursery. And I picked up some other Mother's Day presents. So this one, I got 2 of these actually, and they are for my mom. And this is a calla lily, and this one is actually called Morning Sun, and it just has this beautiful orangey yellow kind of exotic look to it, as well as some speckles on the leaves. And she has some very moist soil. It kind of stays wet for the most part throughout the season, and she gets deer quite a bit like me, and these tend to be deer resistant. I haven't grown them myself, but the research I have done shows that that's the case. I wonder what your experience has been with them. Hopefully it will be good. Anyways, I got her 2 of these, and I think these are going to look really nice and lovely in her garden. I did go with a warmer color theme for her, so those were kind of an orange and yellow, and then this plant is a red, and this one is a cardinal flower. So this is Lobelia cardinalis, and this one is actually a native cultivar, and it also does really well in wet soils, and it is a perennial. The calla lily will just be an annual in our garden, but this one will come back year after year, and it should spread as well. This one's really good for butterflies and hummingbirds and all sorts of pollinators because it's red and it has tubular shaped flowers. And this one gets fairly tall. Let's see if it says how tall. Yes, 2 to 4 feet tall and 14 to 18 inches wide. So it's really a nice vertical accent in your garden, and it goes really well with things like iris. And I also got her some Joe Pye weed, so that will be a nice, probably 6 foot tall plant that is a reddish pink to go with this. And this is hardy all the way down to zone 3, so I think that this is going to make a lovely addition to her garden. I got her 2 of these. Now, when I was there, I did have to pick up a little something for myself as well, and I couldn't help but grab this Nonstop pink begonia. Isn't this gorgeous? The flower is simply amazing, and this is an annual, of course, and it's good in both sun and shade. I am thinking about using this in a hanging basket, but I'm not sure. I haven't completely decided, but you can plant it either in containers or directly into the ground. It only gets about 8 inches tall and about that same width, so it doesn't get huge, but it has these really beautiful flowers and these really unique pointy heart-shaped leaves as well. And these do like fertile soil. They like to be moist but well drained, which is always an oxymoron, but really it doesn't like to dry out all the way, but they also don't like it to be too moist because they can rot that way. But begonias are a really nice choice. They can be grown over winter as a house plant if you want to as well. And so for me, it's just an excellent choice to try out something new. Now, my final purchase at my local Attas nursery was this Dianthus, and I actually have a plan for this one. This was a flat, and I want to say that their flats there are about $15 right now. The prices have definitely gone up this year, but they are reasonable. And this is the Telstar purple variety. I happen to think that it looks more pink rather than purple, but it definitely has that kind of purpley accent in it as well. But this is a nice solid color, and I have this in the borders around my garden right up against the rocks, and it looks really great. But what I plan to do with this is I have some varieties that are actually more of the picotee that like look variegated and have some white and pink or purple in them, and so I think that doesn't have that nice cohesive look that I like to have. So I'll be replacing them this season once I see that they're blooming and which ones need to be replaced, because I forgot to mark them last year. I just am not a great garden planner. But I'm looking forward to replacing them so I have this solid color Dianthus throughout the garden, and then I can remove the other ones. I can use them in planters. I can plant them on in my way back garden or something like that, but I definitely will reuse them in some way. So this is my last plant, and these are sold as annuals. What I do want to stress with you today, though, is that they can be used as perennials. As you have seen in my garden, if you watched it all, those come back every single year for me. They look really amazing, and it's quite a deal if you buy a flat of these and they come back every year. These get about 8 inches tall by 8 inches wide, and they bloom pretty much all season long. Sometimes they do require being cut back, maybe once, maybe twice, but they are just really reliable for me year after year. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video about some new annuals and new perennials that I got, whether they were on clearance or they were brand new. They're all new to me, and that makes me happy. I sure do enjoy plant shopping, and Chad helped me find some good things this time. Are you guys out there plant shopping right now? Are you seeing some good inventory? Are you seeing high prices? I've definitely seen a little bit of both, but I'm looking forward to buying a few more plants as the season goes on. I look forward to seeing you next time, and we'll be doing a tour in the next video, so join me as I show you, because the garden has exploded since the last time we viewed it. See you next time. Bye!